Okay, so in this lesson in Cinema 4D, I thought it might be fun to just play with some ideas of modeling. This won't be necessarily a formal lesson where we talk about tools or functions or how different commands work or what different buttons do. More so just kind of exploring the ideas of modeling and how one might approach some kind of thing we're going to make inside of a 3D modeling program like Cinema 4D. So it's going to be a little bit more freestyle. And I thought just for fun, because I'm a skateboarder, we would just try to explore some ideas of making a skateboard. Maybe I'll make some mistakes in here. It might be fun to watch me kind of figure out what I'm doing. We'll try to explore this a little bit and have some fun with this and see what we can do. So I'm going to start with the parts of the skateboard and just build them as individual parts. I have an image here of a skateboard deck. And so if you've never seen a skateboard deck, this is just a plain blank skateboard deck. It's got a nose and a tail, or a tail and a nose. They're really both the same, so it can be either side. So I'm going to make this. There's a couple ways I could make this, but we're going to try some ideas here. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to use probably a spline pen. So I'll go here to my spline pen tool and I'll start looking at my spline pen. Now I know my spline pen is great, but I want to use this in one of the orthographic views. So I'm going to go here into one of the orthographic views. That's this little button up here. Or you could hit the function keys if you know which orthographic view you're going for. I'm going to hit F5, which is going to put us into the quad screen orthographic. And I'll just go here to F2, I think, which is this guy right here, which shows me this orthographic view here. Now, I want to make this pretty symmetrical. If I look back at this skateboard deck here, the skateboard deck is pretty symmetrical across this. So I'm going to use some of the snapping controls. And so here, whoops, I'm starting to make something already. Look, I don't want to do that. So let's undo, undo, undo. A little hit, click a little bit anxiously and then did it there. So I'm going to use the vertex points here. I'm going to turn snapping on, and that's going to enable snapping. But while I'm in snapping, I'm going to look at my snapping settings. The S key is the shortcut for snapping, and I want to snap to the grid work plane. I don't necessarily need to snap towards the lines, but I do want to snap towards the points. So now snapping is on, the S key snapping is on, and snapping on the work plane. You'll see that when I hit the grid points on the work plane, it snaps there. So I'm going to go here, and we're going to try this. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, hold down 2, zoom out a little bit, just a little bit bigger. And I'll click here, and I'll make a point kind of here, and then maybe I'll do a point here, and then I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe. Make another point there, and then I'll go to the 2 here. And I'm going to do this on the same side. I'll go 1, 2 up like this. I'll connect to this point, and I'll go to here. Now I'm just making straight linear points. With my pen tool here, you'll notice that I was in Bezier mode, which means if I clicked and dragged, I would have made, Bezier handles, and I would have made curves along this. But I just made straight linear points. I'm going to go back to the E key so I can click on these points individually. I'm in point mode up here. Anytime you use the spline pen, it automatically makes points for you, which is nice. So I'm going to click on some of these random points. On this point up here, I'm going to click on this point, and then I won't right click while I'm right on it. That will do something weird. But I'm going to click over kind of a little bit away. So I'm just going to be a little bit away, and this brings up, I can turn off my snapping for now. I can bring this up and bring up this control here that shows me some controls that I can do with my spline. And so some other controls that I have available in my spline, I can cut it, I can split it, I can disconnect it or whatever it may be. But I want to change this from hard interpolation, this would be straight points, to soft interpolation, which would add these Bezier handles. So now here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better. I have a little bit of Bezier handles, and I'm just going to pull them maybe not to here, but maybe a little bit further, like halfway between this block and there. I'm going to try and keep this as straight as possible, keep this like there, and I have kind of this shape here. I think this is a little bit small, so I'm going to pull this point up to about here and have a little bit of a longer nose. I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to click on this one. So now I've highlighted and selected that point. I'm going to right click and say soft interpolation. That's that soft interpolation that does the Bezier. I'm going to pull this out. Again, not to this point here, a little bit halfway wider and get to about there, roughly like that. And again, I think I want this to be a little bit taller as well. So we're going to pull this a little bit taller and pull this there. So now we roughly have the shape of a skateboard. So if I go back to F1, which would be my orthographic or my perspective view, not even my orthographic, I have this shape of the skateboard. And I could simply, now that I have this, I'll go back to the model here, and I can simply go and put this into an extrude. So I could go open this up and put this into extrude, and I could drag this like there, and I would have some kind of shape there. Well, that's a gigantic, gigantic skateboard. So we're going to go to the extrude functions and make this a little bit smaller. Maybe we'll make this like 20. It's still too big of a skateboard. Maybe like 5 or 3 or something. Maybe 3. There, tiny little skateboard. But it doesn't have really a nose or anything else like there. Now I could go here. I could hit the C key or hit this button and start to model this. That would be a way to work. I guess there'd be some other ways I could do this. Maybe, perhaps, something I could do. If I did instead of extrude, if I took my spline out of here, said sorry, no to the extrude here, and I said I could maybe duplicate the spline. I could do that easily, but just by clicking and dragging and duplicate the spline, and then I could make, say, a loft. I could do this with a loft. Put both these splines into a loft and kind of have it like that, and I could have that shape there. Well, I need more loft. I need more loft subdivisions on the U, I assume. Whole bunch there. So it comes out a little bit more rounded. It was coming out a little bit, kind of garbagey. Not an, I mean, that's a weird, cool, interesting shape for a skateboard. Maybe they'll make skateboards like that. Some kind of, Andy Anderson model or something like that. But you know what? We're gonna keep that alone. What would be nice about this is now I could just curve the spline and I could make a nose and a tail using a curve. So here, if I just said, forget this loft, keep this spline, or just keep this spline out here. This is the original one. Get rid of this, get rid of this. I could take this and maybe if I went into point mode here on the spline, I could pull this point up and have this curve, like this. So now it would look like a tail. And then if I duplicated that, again, I'm just playing now. Again, I'm just exploring ideas. I don't know which one I want to do necessarily, but I could do that and then have this spline. We'll take the whole thing. Don't be in point mode because you're just going to pull that one point up, pull the whole thing like there, and then you could do like this kind of action. Again, or not the extrude, sorry, not the extrude. Take this action, get rid of the extrude. We're going to use the loft because extrude would just pull it upward. And I really want to take it with the loft and do it with the loft here and then have it like there. Again, clearly more U-based subdivisions. And I could have a tail there, although it gets a little weird here. I don't It's kind of weird the way it functions kind of there. I don't know if I really want that. So we're going to go here with the spline. We're just going to go with the regular spline. I'll take the regular spline and I'll move the spline back here. So, sorry, I just undo. We're just going to undo a whole bunch and go back to this being flat. I'm just going to undo back here and have this back flat on the ground. So just a spline, and we're just going to take an extrude. I'm going to use my shortcut, my Alt key, my Option key, and say, put this in extrude. This parents this to extrude. Again, the extrude is super huge. We're going to move this back to, what did I say, 3? 3 was a good thickness of skateboard. For now, I could say, let's take this and go to caps and say, let's go in here and bevel some of this. So we could do some bevel on here, some rounded bevel on the caps and just say, yeah, let's just leave this a little bit rounded bevel. That way we have a little bit of rounding there. 3 subdivisions. We'll set this to like 4 maybe. There like so. It's going to look like this, basically like skateboard like that. But that doesn't have any real, nose or tail to it. But we're going to do that. We're going to do that with some kind of editing there. So we're going to take this and make this a polygonal object. I'm going to NB just so you can see the edges. So we have some almost, it feels like a 7-ply skateboard there. It looks pretty cool. It's okay. We're going to keep it NA. We're going to look back to there. And so that was just to change the view, the display, to change it from garage to garage with lines, NA or NB. I'm just doing that as a function, just some playfulness. So here we're going to say with the extrude, I'm going to take the skateboard here, and I want to add a nose or tail, but I want to do this with some modeling. We talked about this being a lesson on modeling, so I will go into some ideas of polygonal-based modeling. So I'm going to hit the C key or hit this button here and turn this into something. And now it puts these little tags on the end of this, and these are these little selection tags. So there's these random selection tags you'll see. If you click on them, if you go into like one of the modes and you click on them, you double click, you'll see that it will select, oh, okay, so it selected this band across here. And click on this one and it selects on that band on the bottom here, or clicks on the whole bottom. And so if you want to put like a graphic on here, you could use this C1 tap 1 selection tag and you could put a graphic on there. We might even do that and leave it alone. We're going to leave that alone for now, just keep that really simple. And so here we're going to say, we'll leave these tags alone. I probably don't need all these tags. These are these edge tags, which I don't necessarily need. I'll get rid of them. But now I want to model this, so I want to move the nose up. So it's going to be a little tricky, and I'm going to do this in maybe the orthographic views. So here's what I want to do. I want to go to one of the edge modes here, and I want to be on the extrude here. We'll call this the deck. We'll just rename this and call this the deck of the skateboard. And here I want to move this up. Now the trick will be is I want to cut this at like this point right here, but it doesn't really cut really well. And the reason why it doesn't cut really well is because the caps, like I couldn't use like loop cut. So if I went to my mesh tools and went to my cut tools, I have loop cut, or I have the cut tools, loop cut KL. You can also get this by right clicking and go to loop cut KL. I just hit KL because I know for K for cut, I know it's a K with a cut. A K is spelled with a C, but we're gonna let that alone. K for cut, L for loop, and to loop cut. And I can't do a loop cut because I can't do a loop cut across the caps. It will cut kind of this way or that way or something, but it won't really cut across the caps. It's just a limitation of how this system thinks. So we're gonna do this with orthographic views, and I'm gonna go to the straight, good old-fashioned KK as my coworker sometimes sends in emails to me. They say, hey, can you do this? They're like, oh, KK. I don't know. It drives me crazy. But I'm just going to use the good old knife tool, what's classically known as the knife tool. But I'm going to do this in top view so it's a little bit cleaner and there. So we're going to do a knife tool, and I'm going to go right across here. And I'm actually going to turn the snapping back on, just so I have some nice snapping. So I know I'm right across this edge. And I'm going to snap right perfectly across this edge right here. Boom. And that's going to put a cut there. Now, that was wrong. I did a mistake. I did a mistake already. I'm going to undo what I just did because I noticed that when I did that, I chose visible only, which would only put a cut across the top of this. And I want to put a cut across the entire thing. So I'm going to here turn off visible only. Again, do my KK again. KK, boom. And then snap, boom. And then it's going to make a cut right there. Now I'm going to get rid of that snap. And you can see now there's a little line here, and these are separated. And we'll be separating the bottom edge too. I'm going to do the bottom here on the other part of this. Over here, we're just going to say KK across here. Whoops, I dragged something. Sorry, let me go back to this knife tool. And then I'm going to pull across a knife across here and make sure I'm snapped even. Boom. And so now I have a cut for the bottom and the top of this like so. Now I want to select the bottom half. So I'm going to go back to the E key. I usually, if I'm in the knife tool or I'm in the polygon pen or if I'm in any kind of pen tool, spline pen, I normally go to the E key to just kind of jump out of it. People always ask me, how do you get out of a tool? How do you undo a tool? Go to another tool. And usually move tool is usually my first choice. So now I have, if you look at F1 here, I have here in F1, I have the board and it has different pieces here. Now I want to select this entire top half and kind of bend this up and turn this up. Okay, so let's see how we're going to do that. I could use one of the selection tools and I could try to grab this and grab all these, but there's a lot of pieces here and I'm afraid I'm not going to grab all of them, and so I don't really have a good grab. I could use the bracket keys to make my little selection bigger, and I could grab, oops, sorry, undo, and I could grab all of this and then go here, holding the shift key. Let me just go to the selection tool here and grab all this and say, let's grab all this and grab here and kind of grab this perfectly. That's sometimes questionable because sometimes I really have to look closely. Oops, I totally missed this part right here. Look at that. Look at that. And I might grab too much. And I'm gonna grab all this kind of, and just now I grabbed part of the top here. I can hold down Command and deselect that. And I just want to make sure I grab everything that's part of this, but not everything there. That might be good. That might be great. Let's see. Let's take a look. I'm gonna go here. I'm using the 1 key to move over. I'm gonna hit rotation. I'm just gonna rotate this and see how this bends naturally. Oh, see, it kind of took off it did something weird here. It's grabbing some corners here. I don't like how this is grabbing at all. All right, let me show you a better way to do this. Okay, so we're going to go into the orthographic views, and I'll get rid of this, and I'll keep this like this. But instead of using this, I want to use point mode. And just point mode sometimes works better to grab the points that I want to grab. So I'm going to go to point mode here, and instead of using the brush selection, I'll turn off snapping. Instead of using brush selection, I'm going to pull down here and grab rectangular selection. And maybe in this view here, I'm going to grab from this, I'm just going to grab along a rectangle along here. The brush is kind of tricky and it kind of just grabs, it's kind of free floating there, but I want to grab just this specific part and grab these points right here. So I'm going to just make sure I grab these points. I don't have visible only. I don't have tolerant selection on. So it's going to grab everything that I fully encase, the points I fully grab, and only the points I fully grab and grab them like there. And so now I have this. So now in here in the orthographic views, if I go back to the perspective view, you can see this. I'll just kind of turn this a little bit this way. And now if I go here and I zoom in a little bit, 2 to zoom in, and I go to rotate, you're going to see that this is going to rotate this whole thing this way. Now it rotates it a little bit crookedly. So it rotates it downward because it rotated from the points, it pulled it down. But I'm going to go back to the move tool, the E key, and I'm going to pull this up and just pull this up until it's flat and even there. So now I have a pretty flat, even, for the most part, a pretty flat, even nose there. If I go back to the model here, I can see that this looks like this. We'll go back to this view, F1 here, and see. We'll hit the H key to zoom out, just so I can see this whole thing. And yeah, we have a skateboard there. Command R, we have the skateboard there looking like there. So that's pretty skateboard-esque, except we have a tail or a nose. I don't know. We have one side, we don't have the other side. We don't have the double tail side there. And so here, let's go back into the orthographic views again. We'll go to the bottom in this case. We'll switch to point mode again, except instead of these points, we'll go back to the rectangular selection tool, one key to pull up, and I'll just grab these points. Hopefully this will work just the same way. Grabbing everything in the top and the bottom, like so, all these points. We'll go back to F1 orthographic views, and then again, I'll just rotate this up. I probably should have watched how much I rotated this, but maybe the tail is a little bit higher than the nose. The nose is a little bit steeper than the tail. Maybe it's designed a certain way for the type of skater it is. Again, since I'm kind of crooked and it's facing downward, I'm going to pull this back up till this hits right there. And I feel like that's my skateboard right there. I mean, I feel like for better, for worse, I'll just, go back into model mode here and have this. Man, that's my skateboard. That's my signature model skateboard. That's how it looks. Let's just make this better. Let's just put a texture on this. We're going to go in here into materials, into the asset browser up here, asset browser, if you didn't know that guy, materials, and we're just going to look for a wood. Just look for a type of wood, maybe something really simple, basic, maybe like ash shader, ash texture. Let's try ash texture. I'm just going to apply this to the deck and I'm going to put it on there. I'm just going to apply that material on there. Now we can look at the design of the material, how it fits on the board. That looks kind of weird. I feel like I want it to be more different. So I'm going to change the material, click on the material and go to the materials tag and go to the projection type and switch it to maybe cubic. I always like cubic. That's okay. I could even go here and say, I don't know, cubic this way, or we could actually hit this button here, which is the kind of the texture mode editor, which shows us the cube. And then if we rotated the cube, on this axis here, we could rotate it so that it was 90 degrees. I'm holding down shift so it's more, I feel like that's the skateboard I want. I feel like that looks more skateboardy rather than the horizontal lines. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. I don't know. But now we have something that looks, somewhat like a skateboard. We're going to work in here. We're going to go back to model. And so now I have a skateboard. We'll call this the deck. This will be great. And again, if I wanted to, I could bring in a picture of something, throw a picture there, and have this be on just one part of this, just one selection of this. Whatever the cap selection was here of that, or some other selection here like that, or that selection at the middle there, or this, whatever this selection is. So you could have different selections in different places. That'd be the bottom. We can make smaller selections if we want to, but we'll leave that alone for now. We've made a skateboard. I think we should just accept how great we were that we made a skateboard deck. Cool. And if we make a skateboard deck, Command R, hey, I feel like we're good enough. It's even semi-laminated, which is really nice. Looks okay. We can make a better skateboard, I'm sure, if we put more time. But we got the idea. People would know, hey, this is a modern skateboard with a nose and a tail. Okay, so let's talk about wheels. So let's go here to wheels. So now maybe we say, for now, we're just gonna turn this off. So we're gonna hold on the Option key and click on both these guys to just hide this. So now this is just hidden. So let's talk about the wheels. We're gonna make the wheels really easy. I'm gonna start really simply with a cylinder. So I'm gonna go here. I'm going to pull in a cylinder. Now, we could pull in a cylinder and say, let's take the cylinder. We'll put this on this way, so it's facing this way. We're going to add some more rotation segments. I normally like to double, so you can do 16 times 2, which we know is 32. There's some better rotation segments. We want the radius of this to be a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit bigger radius, and the height to be a little bit smaller, so it's about that size. We'll go to some actual measurements just in case you're playing. We'll say the radius is maybe 65s, and the height of this is, I don't know, maybe 70 or something like that. So we have these wheels like so. And again, these wheels could be better, be worse. Maybe we'll make these smaller, maybe a little thinner, 60s maybe. No, I think I'm going to go 70s. I think we're going to stick with 70. So we're going to have this there like there. Now, right now, we have this kind of primitive, really simple wheel. It doesn't have anything to it, and we're not even going to do anything. We could do a lot more here without going to polygonal modeling. But since this is mostly a modeling class, or a modeling lesson, we are going to go kind of full on into the ideas of modeling this like so, and look at some of the modeling tools that we can use. So we're going to work really simply first and say, hey, this wheel is kind of lousy, but let's make this better. So we're going to hit C key, or hit this button here and make this polygonal. And now we have these shapes here. Now, a couple things I want to do here. I want to first add some bevel to the edge of this. I could have added some filleting to the caps before I made them editable. I can even undo and say, hey, let's go back here. Let's go to the caps and let's turn in on the filleting and then have some rounded edges to this. But I feel like I want to just, have this be really rounded as I want to. But I feel like I want to turn that off and just say, let's forget about that. And let's just do this. Let's just do this as if we had to model this here. So we're going to model this here, and I'm going to go to this edge right here and do this after the fact. So I'm going to go here, and I want to use the selection tool on the line. So I'm going to use the loop selection, which is U. U is always selection. Here's all the selection tools you have, and then L, UL is for loop selection. And we're going to grab this loop right here. And we can grab this loop right here. And then we want to use the bevel tool. So I'm going to right click and remember which one is the bevel tool here. The bevel tool, let's see, bevel, bevel, bevel. Where is bevel? Where's good old bevel here? It's somewhere around here. And we're going to find the bevel tool. You probably are watching the screen being like, dude, it's up top. It's MS, right? Multiple sclerosis right there. It's MS right up there on top. And now we have the bevel tool. And I could simply grab the bevel tool, just drag it across the blank area of the screen here and say, boom, and drag this and have a bevel there. Now that added a 0 subdivision bevel, which looks kind of choppy and garbagey. So we're going to change the number of subdivisions over here and add more roundiness to my bevel. And we added 3. 3 would be a good amount of roundiness. Now we can look, Command R, we can look and see, is that a good enough bevel for us? I'm not really sure. Is 3.6 a good enough bevel? Do we want to go to 5? Have more bevel? Again, I'm hitting Command R so we can see a little bit better, like there. We can go to 12 if we wanted to and have a lot of bevel. That's a really roundy wheel. I feel like that's a little too much. Maybe we'll split the difference. We'll go to like 8, and we'll go to here and have this be 8. So we're 8. Maybe we'll go to 4 subdivisions. Good enough for me. I'll take it as an idea. Now on the other end, we want to do this on the other end. We want the other side to have a bevel as well. So we're going to remember our tools. UL, grab this, MS, and we're going to say our bevel needs to be, drag it up to 8-ish. We'll drag this to actually put this to 8 and 4 subdivisions. So now we have both sides have this wheel. And you know, if we were going to just walk away right now and say, hey, that's our wheel. Hey, that might be our wheel. That would be good enough for a wheel. That's okay. I mean, that's not great, but it's okay for a wheel. But we want to add, obviously, the hole in the center. Now, in truth, could we have probably used a tube and that would have been easier? Yeah, but we were kind of just quick and working quickly. And so we want to show, hey, we didn't make a tube, we used a cylinder. We don't want to go backwards. We don't want to go back and delete this and start over. So let's see what we can do with this. Let's go in here into the edge mode here, or into the polygon mode. And we're going to say, let's add some cuts here. So I'm going to add some cuts in the middle of this. And I'm going to use KL, my loop cut. And I'm going to divide right between the most inner edge and the most outer edge. I'm going to go right here exactly to 50%. 51.212. Look at that. It says 51.212. I was so close. Let's move it exactly to 50. And that's one circle. So it made one cut. Let me hold in the 2 key. It made one cut. Oops, I undid. Here, boom. Let me just undo for a second. I'm going to click here and click there, and I get 56. I'm going to say at 50 exactly, so I get 50. So that's one cut right there, exactly at 50 there. But I want to add some more cuts, and it's a really quick, easy way to do this. Rather than cut it again and cut it again, I'm just going to add 2 more cuts. Cut again, and now that's 4 cuts there. So now I have a 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the caps of this. Could I have done this to the cylinder before I put it in? Probably. Did I do it? No, I didn't. If I make a cylinder, I can make caps in there. Let's do this to the other side. So this is really easy. We'll do this again. We'll hit it exactly, perfectly. Do you believe me? I'll put my cut perfectly right here at 50. 42.8. I'm doing worse. One of these days, I'm going to land exactly at 50%. Doesn't matter. I can just fix it. Whoops, I hit it at 100. Didn't mean to do that. 50. Thank you. Right there, 50. And I'm going to do 2 more cuts. Boom. So now I have 4 cuts. It puts one at 50, one at 25, one at 75. That's the beauty of it, is that it kind of averages those at and puts it right there. So now I have this there. We're going to hop out of this tool here. We're going to hit the E key and hop out of this cut. So now I have this cut into pieces. Right? So I have my cube. Whoops, I just did undo. Let me do redo. Edit, redo, Command Y. Boom, put that cut back in there. Let me move this over. 1 key, 3 key. So we have cuts on both sides. We're going to take this inner circle here, and we're going to remove it. So we're going to hit UL. And I'm going to grab this inner circle here and just hit delete, and this inner circle is gone. Boom, gone, goodbye. And now there's just a hole. There's a hole that goes to the side. It's kind of hollow on the inside, which is weird for a wheel. But let's just pretend that that's not the case. And we're going to have that here and have it here. We're going to come around to this side and go here, UL, and grab this one and delete this as well. So now we have a hole going through, which would be where, you know, a wheel could go through. But we want to add some surface. We want to change this from an actual cylinder into a tube. We want to have an inner circle, the inner circle here. So this was a tricky thing for me. I always struggle with this because I always forget which tool to use, but I looked it up and I remembered now. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this. We're going to go to line mode here, And line mode is still on my bevel that I was doing before. So let's click away from there. And let's go here to UL, which is going to select my line here. I'm going to select this inner line right here. Now I want to select the other line, so I'm going to rotate around, hold down the 3, rotate around, and then I'm going to hit UL again, and I'm going to hold down Shift in this case to grab this line as well. So now I have that line on this side, this line on this side. It wants to grab more lines, but I'm not going to let it. I use the Shift key to grab multiple. So I grab this line and that line here. And the trick I want to use is a control called bridge. So I'm going to look that I can see. I'm just using my 1, 2, 3s there to move around here. So I can sort of see this here. I want to right click and choose bridge. And that is MB. MB for bridge. So mesh bridge. I'm going to make a bridge and I'm going to drag perfectly right from here right over to here. Just make a straight line. You can see that this is kind of a crooked line. This is a straight line here. That's going to connect this edge to that edge and bridge this together and close that out. And now we have, boom, a closed in circle sort of thing. So we sort of have a closed in. Now, honestly, my wheel is feeling a little bit chunky. I don't really love my wheel. I probably should have put more edges there. I only used 32. I probably should have used more, but we can fix that. We can do that. I know that with skateboards, you have an inner wheel where the part of the truck goes in, the bolt goes in there, but it also has to fit in this little space where there's little little whatever they're called, washers, not washers, bearings. You have a little bearing space in there. So now we're gonna go in here and we're gonna say, I want to extrude part of this out. So we're gonna hit KL. I'll show you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna hit KL here. I'm gonna put this at 50%. Oops, if I can click on this, hold on a second. Move this to 50%. So this is going to move this one to 50% right there. And then I'm going to double this. So there's 2. So there's now they're each equidistant. So one's at 33.33333, one's at 66.6667. And so now I have these 2 spaces there. I'll go back to the move tool. So now I have this inner space here. I'm going to go back to the polygon tool. This is going to be tricky. I'm going to go back to the polygon tool. I'm going to hit UL and grab in this midsection. And I want to have a little space to block the left bearing from or the inner bearing from the outer bearing, the one side bearing from the other side bearing. You'll see how this looks. So I'm going to hit the extrude key, the D key, and I'm going to push and just drag across and extrude this out a little bit. So it makes a little extrusion there like so. So now we have a smaller section. Let me show you this in polygon mode. We have a smaller section and a bigger section. So it looks kind of like this, but there's a little like a buffer piece in between here that kind of blocks this out. So if you ever saw an actual skateboard wheel, it has a smaller like piece in the middle of it that holds the bearing in, that allows a little inner wall. So it allows the post to go through or the truck to go through. And then it holds it in right where, look at a skateboard wheel. If you have a friend who's a skateboarder or you are a skateboarder, look at a skateboard wheel. There's a little space in between. You know what I'm talking about. It's where the bearing goes in. We're going to make bearings later there. Now we have this cylinder. We probably should call this a wheel. We'll call this wheel. Now, I don't like how this is designed because it does look a little bit chunky on the edges. So I may put this into a subdivision surface. We'll see what that does. So I'm going to hit subdivision surface and drag this into a subdivision surface. That's going to add more edges, and that looks like a more roundy wheel. So that's a little bit nicer. It's a little bit roundy on these edges too, which I kind of like. I kind of like the design because it feels a little bit more skateboard wheely. And we could do some stuff where we could say, let's take the skateboard wheel here. Let's go back to these, and I might do this. I might say UL, grab this piece right here, and I might say, let's hit the E key and tuck this in a little bit so it kind of tucks in like that. Not crazy, maybe even a little bit smaller, a little bit thinner, but just a little bit tucked in. We'll just tuck it in here. We'll just hold down the Shift key and just tuck in like 5. And then now we have a skateboard wheel that has a little bit of style to it, I guess. Some kind of a, skateboard wheel. We'll do this on the other side as well. We'll hit UL, we'll grab this in here. You'll see different wheels and different styles. They'll come smaller or larger. We could hit T and make this smaller, make this edge smaller, whatever it may be. We'll leave that alone. We'll hit the E key. I'm going to hold down Shift so I make sure that it holds, boom, a little bit small like there. So now I have this wheel like there. I have this kind of stylistic look there. If I wanted some harder edges right around here, I could hit KL and add another point closer on the edge. So just right here. Would add some more straighter, flatter points. You see how that by having 2 edges right next to each other, it makes some sharper edges there. I'll do this on the other side as well, just to have some uniformity. I'm going to go here and just say right on this edge right here, I'm just going to add another cut and it's going to add just a sharper edge there. So I can decide whatever kind of wheel I want. We'll hit the H key. We'll kind of turn this a little bit so you can see this wheel. There, so I have a wheel. Again, you can design whatever you want to, and we're going to texture this whatever we want to. We can just make our own texture here. I don't know if I love that wheel. We'll make our own texture now. We'll just make a white wheel on the subdivision surface. So now it's just a shade of white. We'll make this a little bit brighter just so you can really see how white this is. Maybe we'll add some, I don't know, maybe some bump or something. We'll add a noise bump, maybe a tiny little bit of noise bump, really small. We'll go to a noise and we'll say not really that bumpy, but just maybe really small. We'll change the scale to like 2%, just so it's a little bit, that's really too fuzzy. But we'll go back here and change the strength to like 5%. And so it's just a little bit, maybe even like 2%. I don't know, that maybe still be too much. I don't know, we can take a look at how this looks in terms of the bumpiness of this. We'll say here, just, yeah, that's, maybe something. We can play. We can add some texture there. I might leave the bump alone. Now we just have this there. Maybe add some diffusion. Maybe just add some noise diffusion. Just a little bit of noise diffusion. Like, not like that, but just like a white and an almost white. And again, we'll make the global scale really small, just so it's a little bit, just so it looks like a little bit textured there. That's even better than the noise. We don't really, or the bump. We just want a little bit of offset color there, just to have there. And we can add some graphics on there, and we'll put some bearings in there. Whatever we want to do, we'll make some stuff. But we have, for better or for worse, we have a wheel. So we're gonna call our wheel a day. We're gonna hit both these little guys, turn this off, make this unselectable. It's not there anymore. We still have the skateboard here, the deck itself. That looks cool, and so that's gone. And now we're gonna go to the last part, and the really tricky part for people who aren't skateboarders is something called the truck. And I grabbed a picture of this as well. So in here, we have this picture here of the skateboard trucks. And so the skateboard trucks look like this. And those are the things that connect the skateboard to the wheels. So the wheels go on the edge here, and these go on here. So how are we going to build this? We're going to build this with a couple different component parts. We may not get to finish this, but we're going to try to do the best we can. But at least we'll look at some things, some techniques to modeling, some things we can do as an idea. So keep this in mind. We'll keep referencing this back, and we'll keep referring to this as an idea. Great. Okay, cool. And so here, I'm going to start with a cube. I'm going to start here with a cube, and I'm just going to start with a cube. We'll go back to default view. I always go back to frame default there. And we're going to start with a cube. In model mode, we're going to make this cube just this big. And I don't know, you could measure out what the right size of a skateboard truck is. I'm going to try and eyeball it, just kind of make it a regular skateboard truck like this. So this is the bottom plate. This is the bottom part of the skateboard truck. It looks like this. And I'm going to make this really simple, really basic, nothing special to this. This is a cube. Maybe I'll put maybe just for now, I'll just put some segments on here, NB. We're just going to look and see maybe some segments on the Z. Just so that's some segments like that. That would help me out just a little bit like there. Maybe even some segments on the X. So just have segments there on the X. I think that's going to be good enough for me. I don't know. Maybe I should leave it alone and not do it. We'll see. I'm always questionable. But now we're going to say, okay, we're going to skip this entirely. We're going to make this editable. So we're going to here, make this editable. And now this is an editable thing. And now we have these three controls to control the polygons, the edges, and the points here like so. So we're going to do is we're going to try and build this part right here where this piece comes up and this other back piece comes up. I don't know whether to raise this as one piece and then lower the middle of it. I don't know. We'll debate. We'll debate. I feel like what I want to do first and foremost is I want to make this center piece a little bit thinner because this should be bigger and this piece should be bigger and this should be thinner. So we're going to hit UL and we're going to go to here to polygon mode. We're going to make sure we click on this cube. And I'm going to grab this, and I'm just going to the T key and just make this a little bit thinner this way. So it's just a smaller section, maybe like only like 75%. So it's just a smaller section. I feel like that will help me a little bit. So we're going to decide this is the front part, this is the back part of this bottom of this truck. Now the front part, just to review, comes up and then bends in a little bit. So we're going to extrude this front part out here. We're going to grab this part, hit the D key for extrude. We're going to extrude this up about that much. And we're going to make this a little bit smaller this way. So it's going to become a little bit smaller and maybe 70%. And then we're going to E key and move this a little bit this way so it kind of comes in like this. We could even raise this up a little bit more. I feel like this would come up a little bit more and comes in like this. We want this to have kind of a slant angle off of this, kind of like there. And so this kind of comes in with the slant angle like so. And we have this in here. I feel like we could still go here and make this even a little bit smaller. T key, make this a little bit smaller. Hold this like there. And then maybe we take this top piece and then E key and move this back even more like there. So we just have a little small piece inside of there. That's cool enough for me. I feel like that's okay. On this bottom piece here, we're going to take this bottom piece. We're going to extrude this one up as well. So this is going to come up, but not come up as far. Let's take a look. We're going to have this piece. So this piece was the front. This piece is going to come up not so far and bend a lot more. So this came up and bent. The spacing between here is really tight. We could have done this a little differently. We're going to do this way. We're going to say D key, extrude this up this way, just a little bit. But then we're going to have this really bend. The R key, we're going to just bend a lot more like this. So it's going to be more like this there. We can take the E key and just move this up like there. So it has this kind of action going on. We may even take this piece and maybe, I don't know, do something with this. We can even put another cut in here. KL. We'll put another cut right in the middle of this. 47.069. We're going to have this be 50 even. So we have another cut right in the middle there. I'm just playing now. We're going to take this top piece. We're going to bring this. We're going to extrude this up. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to hit D for extrude. We're going to extrude this up a little bit like there. Then we're going to go to line mode. And we're going to take this middle line and just push this back down so it has a little bit of curvature there. I don't want to go too low. I don't want to cut into the middle of the mesh there, but I just want to have this come in like there. So I just have this there. Now this looks kind of chunky, but what we're going to do, just to show you, I'll option click a subdivision surface in there. It's going to have a roundiness to it. Now, the roundiness looks weird. I understand the roundiness is not what we want to go for. May not be the way we want to do this. So we're going to undo that subdivision surface. We're going to play with this a little bit. We're going to make this a little bit smoother. We're going to look a little bit nicer. But for now, we have a decent thing. Maybe a better way to do this is rather than using a subdivision surface, another trick I could do is I could use just a bevel tool. Now, I want to bevel, say for example, I want to bevel everything. I want to bevel all of this. So I could go here and say, let's go here to line mode and let's hit Command A, which would select everything. And now everything is selected and everything is in here. And now I'm going to go to bevel, and you remember bevel, MS, boom. And now we're going to just bevel all of these edges. So all these edges are going to get a mild little bit of bevel, maybe like 3, 2.5. And now we have some better roundiness to this. It looks a little bit more, realistic. It feels a little bit better. I still don't like this. There's other ways I could have done this. There's another way I could have approached this. And sometimes I do it that way when I approach this, which would be to pull out the middle of this. I'll show you that way as well. We're just gonna do a whole bunch of undo. We're just gonna do this right now. I know, crazy talk. Undo, 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 undo. We're gonna get rid of all of this and go here and say here. We could have done it this way. And I sometimes go with this. I sometimes say, let's grab these top 3 pieces. So I'm gonna grab this, this, and this. We're gonna hit D key for extrude and extrude this up there. And now I'm going to grab like this, and I'll grab these pieces, and I'll pull this one down. And I want to extrude this one up a little bit, kind of like there. And have this curve up like there, or maybe even just have this raise up a lot and rotate more so it's kind of there, like that, and basically come up like there. Again, I want to take this and pull this down and have this kind of down. I could take this with the T key and I can make this a little bit smaller. Kind of there. I could rotate this one back so it's a little bit more angled this way. Kind of like that. And I could do that. That'd be another way to do this. Kind of play this sort of that way. I don't know which way is better. I think I'm going to go with my other. I know, I'm going to go back again. I'm going to undo everything I just did. You learn to get quick. You learn to get quick this way. I'm going to extrude this one up because I kind of like this better. Extrude this up really tall, rotate this about this much, like there. We even may take the T key and make this a little bit smaller this way. I like that action. That feels pretty good. That feels pretty good. Maybe make this wider this way, just a little bit wider. We'll take this one. We'll raise this one up a little bit. So D key, extrude this one out a little bit there, a little bit of there. We'll rotate it all the way down to the bottom, basically, just kind of like this. That feels pretty good. Again, go to my edge mode. Command A, grab everything. MS. We kind of have that action going on. And that would be one kind of a skateboard truck. There's kind of different models of skateboard trucks. We don't have to go with just the skateboard truck model we have, but we could have that as a skateboard truck like there. I feel like I want to make this space a little bit smaller in between here. So again, we want to go in here and say, before we bevel this, we may want to say UL, grab this section here. Again, make this a lot smaller. We're just going to pull this a lot smaller. So it's really small. Maybe I should have done this before I made these edges here. Let's see. Let's pull this back down. Let's grab UL, grab this in here. T key. We're gonna make this a lot smaller in here. I feel like it should be really small. And then this piece right here, again, D key, extrude this up just a little bit. We're gonna say rotate it this way. And maybe here we'll even make this a little bit smaller just so it kind of comes in a little bit tighter. Like so. So we have this kind of thing. Again, all the edges, Command A, MS, and then we'll just have this a little bit beveled. I feel like that's the bevel I want to go for. And I could bevel this a lot, have this have a lot of roundiness to it. But we're going to go here, maybe just like a 6. I don't know what. Oops, not 6. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, 6. I don't know what I just hit. Hit something weird. Command R. So now we have our skateboard truck sort of. There's an idea. I mean, that's something to start with. So we have that there. I know we're wasting a lot of time. We're just playing. Again, this was just a lesson to play, an experiment. You can make whatever kind of truck you want to. You can make this however you want. I might want to make this bottom thicker. I'm not really sure. We can explore some ideas to make this a little bit bigger. We could even just hit the T key and go into model mode and say, yeah, let's maybe make just the whole thing just a little bit taller. Just a little bit bigger here like there. I feel like that's even better. Yeah, that feels better already. All right, so let's take a look at the rest of the parts of the truck here. So now I want to go in here and I want to make this top part of this truck. I probably should know the names of this, but I want to make this top part of this truck and I want to pull this piece out like this. So let's take a look at some things we can do here. So this piece, sorry, let me go back to this for a second. This piece right here rests, the main barrel of it rests over the middle of here. So we're going to try and do this where we're going to make a cylinder. Again, a cylinder. We're going to make a cylinder. We're going to turn this cylinder on the coordinates on the z-axis here. So in the object, we're going to take it on the z-axis, so it's facing this way. We'll make it a little bit skinnier. I'm going to add some more sides to this, maybe 32 again. And we'll go here a little bit skinnier here. Sorry, not scale. We'll go a little bit skinnier with my radius again. Not too skinny. And then we'll go much longer on there. And we're going to raise this up. E key, we're going to raise this up right up to about here. So this is going to be resting right about here. Maybe back a little bit. Maybe closer to here. Like a little bit closer, but not crazy. We don't want to go crazy. Maybe a little bit less. We're going to have it right about there. I'm going to look at what this is in terms of size. I could bring this picture in. I could put this picture as a background for something inside of Cinema 4D and actually look at what it looks like and kind of measure it out there. So it's about like, it feels like it's about twice the size of the base of this. So we're going to have this base here. This is pretty, I feel like maybe a little bit wider. Maybe a little bit wider. And right about there. So we have these edges here like so. We have this like there. Great. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this. Now, there's supposed to be a hole in the back of this. I don't have a hole back at the back of this cube. So let me just do this really quickly. I'm going to make a capsule. We'll make a capsule. I'll take my capsule. I'll make my capsule a little bit skinnier, a little bit shorter. And I'm going to move my capsule right back here, right into here. This is going to have to go much smaller, maybe like 20. And we're going to pull the capsule up. And we're going to rotate the capsule just so it fits right kind of in line with this. That feels pretty good. So it's right there in there. I'm going to move this right to the center of this. I'll make the radius a little bit smaller. I don't know. I feel like the radius is okay. Let's take a look. Maybe like 18. Not 20, but 18. That's my number right there. 18 is my number. Cool. Awesome. This is perfect. So now I want to take this capsule and this cube, and I just want to do, this is going to be the easiest way to do this, I think, is to use a bool. So we're going to do here, we're going to choose a bool. And we're going to say the bool is going to be the cube minus the capsule. It's going to be this minus this. We'll throw this into the bool, and it's going to be subtracting this out. So now we have this subtracted out. We have a hole. Congratulations, we have a hole. For now, we're going to leave this alone. We could make this editable, but for now, we're going to leave this alone. I feel like this truck, this cylinder needs to come up a little bit higher. A little bit higher, just a little bit. And we're going to have this like there. So now I'm going to make this cylinder editable because I want to make this weird organic shape that looks like this, which is kind of not an easy shape to make. I don't think I can make this parametrically. Maybe there's something I could do, but it might just be easier to model it. Again, eventually you're going to be like, you know what? Easier to model it. So we're going to model this. All right, so we're going to make this cube cylinder modelable, polygonal, and I'm going to grab some edges here. I'm going to do like this. So for the back end of this, I'm going to grab here, and I'm going to grab here, and I'm going to grab here, and grab there. And I'm going to grab these. Maybe 3 of these. I got to see how this looks. It's tricky. Yeah, maybe more, maybe thicker, because I feel like I need a thicker back here. I'll grab below. I'm holding down shift to grab multiple little polygons. I probably could have done this with the brush tool, but I'm always worried about my controls there. And I'm going to pull this out and I'm going to extrude this out. So we're going to hit the D key and I'm going to extrude this out like this. I'm going to extrude this out here. Now, when I extrude this out, it's going to make a really fat, sorry, it's going to make a really fat back here like this. So I'm going to hit the T key and make this a little bit smaller. And I want to pull this in a little bit. So I want this to kind of pull in this way. And then I want to push it down. E key, push it down right till it falls about there. So I'm making kind of this shape into here. I might want to make this a little bit smaller like this. And in here, whoops, don't move it. Make this a little bit smaller, maybe back up a little bit smaller, T key, make this a little bit smaller this way and have it like there. Now it looks okay. We're starting to get the idea here. E key, move this up a little bit. I want this over the hole here. We're okay, but I am going to take this cylinder and I am going to put this into a subdivision surface. So option click subdivision surface, and now it's going to put it in subdivision surface. And now you see it looks more rounded as it goes in. Now we're going to turn the subdivision surface off for a second. We're going to go here and I'm going to grab these edges, these points again here. Sorry, let me go back to the cylinder. We have the edges collected already. And I'm going to extrude this again. I'm going to show you the trick I'm going to do. I'm going to extrude this again. Maybe we'll make this a little bit smaller. Like this. And I'm going to hit D and extrude this again so it comes out a little bit more. And then hit T key and really bring this in, make it really small. And this is the piece. This piece right here is going to be the piece that goes in the hole. So I'm going to line this up, E key, and just turn this way so it really like this is the section that goes into the hole. And I can decide now with the T key whatever size I want this to be so it kind of fits perfectly in the hole. Get in your hole like there. It's hitting pretty well into the hole. I could move the hole over. The bowl the capsule was a little bit crooked or something, or maybe this was a little bit crooked. And I can move the capsule over, or I could take this cylinder and just move this edge over so it's fitting there. So now when I put the subdivision surface on, it looks like the back of a truck there. It fits in there sort of well. You could do a better job, but I'm working a little bit quickly. Again, you can make this look however you want to. I feel like that's pretty good. That feels pretty realistic. I like how that looks. Now, the weird thing is that when you render this, you get these weird, I don't know, these like tapered edges. And that's because of what the subdivision surface is doing. There's a little control of how the subdivision surface works. I don't really like it, what it's doing. We could do something else with the subdivision surface and change the renderer subdivisions to 3 or something and make it more subdividey. But that's not going to help us all. The trick that's going to help us here is with the cylinder, we can go to KL, loop cut, and put a little edge right here. Boom, we'll put an edge right here at 95%. And that little 95% edge will just flatten this out so it's a flat piece right there. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. We'll go here with the loop cut here, and we'll say, here with the loop cut, KL, we're going to grab this edge, 95% as well. I don't know why, just because I want it to be uniform. 95 felt good to me. Cool, so now I have here, if you look at this, okay, so I have some flat edges there. I have this back, this front. Now the front part is going to be the really tricky part, because the way this works is that there's a bushing, and the bushing goes right here. So there's a washer on the bottom, and then there's a bushing here. I don't know if I'm going to get this right. Maybe a little trial and error here, but we're going to try and get this here. So here's the way it's going to look. We're going to take another piece here. We're going to take maybe we'll take a cylinder here. We'll take a cylinder like this. We're going to take the cylinder. We're going to add some more segments on here. 32. Cool. We're going to take the cylinder like here. Put this there. We're going to obviously make this cylinder much smaller. Like this much, this big, and we're going to put this right here. E key, move this up just so it's resting there. We're just going to just be really small. And we're going to rotate this just so it's in place like so. And so it's going to be a rotating cylinder that's going to rotate in here and fall in there. Now that's just the bushing. We should put a washer on here. We didn't put a washer on there. There should be a washer with kind of a curved edge to it, which should be underneath this. So we could have another cylinder. We could even do this. We could just duplicate the cylinder because it's in the right place right now. We could take the cylinder, duplicate it, make it really small, make it a little bit wider, and have a washer on the bottom. Now the washer should have a curved edge to it. We could curve it up when we make it a model, but now we have a bushing, we have a washer, we have this kind of thing that like there. So it looks kind of like this. There, that's totally off track. Look at those, both are off track. Ooh, look at how bad they are. They should be over here. Cool. They should be over here, and they should be somewhat like this. So it would look like that. So you see, if you look at the picture, there's a washer that goes in the bottom, and there's this one bushing, and then this is a separate bushing, and this goes in the middle of it. So this is a little rubber piece that helps it be flexible a little bit. Again, we can take these, we can make it editable. I might just take this cylinder, this other cylinder, and go to caps and just fill it this a little bit so it has a little bit more bushing tasticness here. And again, we could take this one. We'll label this, we'll call this the washer. We can make this editable. If we took this and made this editable, we could go here to the edge mode and say KL or something like that, or UL to grab the outer ring here. And we could say the E key and just pull this outer ring up a little bit so it had a little bit something going on there, like so. Maybe something like that. Maybe we take the outer edge or something. We could play with it there. But we're going to leave it as a flat wash for now. I know it should have a curved edge. It's a little bit too big. I'm going to undo and make it not editable. It should be a little bit smaller. So if the cylinder here had a radius of 27 centimeters, right? This would have maybe a radius of like 30 centimeters, just a little bit bigger, around there. And you could work at the math of whatever this is. You can probably measure this out with an actual truck. But now we're going to go back to this cylinder here. So this main part of this bar here, we're going to go here. Whoops, don't move it. We're going to go here and we're going to look at this here. So I want to turn off the subdivision surface for just a second. And I want to grab these polygons. So I'm going to grab this polygon. And again, I'm not necessarily narrating what I'm doing. And honestly, I'm not narrating what I'm doing because I'm really just making a lot of this up and figuring out what I'm doing. I've done this once before, so I kind of have an idea of what I want to do. But I'm just going to kind of play a little bit. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to extrude this out. So we're going to take this, we're going to extrude this out. Just like the back side of this, we're going to extrude this out this way. It's going to make this really, really big, and we don't want to do that. So we're going to hit the T key up here, and we're going to drag this, make this a little thinner. Just so it falls right there. I'm going to hit this key right here, and I'm going to pull in like there. So now we have this, and we get the E key and just move this out, and so it's over top of this. We'll raise this up a little bit just so it's there. And now it's sort of on top of this. It's sort of hitting on top of this, but we need to do a couple things with this. So one of the things we need to do, and we might have even done it this way, we might have even come up higher and then come down lower. I'm not sure how we want to approach this. Again, with the subdivision surface, you're going to see it's going to change how this looks overall, kind of like this. So this is sort of the way it's supposed to look, but we can play a little bit. So let's turn the subdivision surface off. I want to make some lines across this way. I think it's going to be important to grab some lines across this way, and I'll show you why. So we're going to hit KL to make some loop cut edges here. We're going to make one here. We'll make a couple. We'll make one at 50. And I'm just going to make two more. Just going to make one at 75 and 25. So now we have just lines across here like there. And I'm actually going to put some lines across this here. So we're going to put a line here that's going to cross the middle of this. That's going to be at 50 as well. So I'm just making some more geometry. This one here is going to be at 50 as well. And this feels pretty good like there. So I do want some shapes here like so. So what I want to do is I want to hit UL. I want to be in polygon mode. And I'm going to grab this piece here. And maybe I grab this piece and this piece. And I'm just going to hit the E key, and just move these down so it has a little bit of curvature to it. So it's just a little bit of curvature like there, like so. So now I have this kind of looking like that with a little bit of curve there, so it comes in like there. That's the way it should look. Again, with the subdivision surface, it's going to look even better. So it's going to have more of that curve in there like so. I might even hit the T key and just have these come in a little bit more, because this comes in a little bit more drastically. It should come in like drastically there. But now, right now, we don't have a pocket here for this to fall. So what's supposed to happen is a bolt is supposed to go through the middle of this. There's a bolt right here that goes from the base of this up through the middle, through these two bushings here, and then up here, and it gets screwed on top. So, and this kind of comes around it. This could be a little bit thinner. Based on this one, it could be a little thinner. You're going to encounter other trucks out there, other skateboard trucks out there, that if you look, you're going to see other skateboard trucks that have, a wider surface there. You're going to see other ones that have like kind of this. We're making something more like this. You see ones that are like this. You see ones. So you can decide what kind of brand skateboard truck you want. Look at a bunch of reference images and see, okay, this one has kind of this shape to it. This one has this wider shape to it. This is more rounded. You see different examples of different trucks that have different shapes of how they are. That's weird. But you see, it's something like this, and we can kind of explore, but we're kind of getting the idea here like so. We could take, maybe this edge and this edge and say, let's just E key push this down a little bit so it's like that. So we have this kind of weird gap. We could pull these We could pull these edges in UL and pull this edge in a little bit tighter. So now we have, I'm just going to take the subdivision surface off for a second. So we can take this edge and kind of pull this in a little bit tighter, have this be more like that. We can get really playful and get really some weird kind of funky shapes here. But ultimately, what we want to also do is we also want to consider the fact that, again, turn the subdivision surface off here. We want to consider the fact that like this is going to come through here and there's going to be a pocket here. So I'm going to try to make somewhat of a pocket in this. So I'm going to click on this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, and I'm just going to delete them. Cut a hole out of here, so there's a hole here. Now I'll turn the bushing off for a second. This is my other cylinder here. And I'm going to grab the inner ones here. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the wheel. We're going to grab this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, shift key, grab them all and delete them there. So now we just have a hole. So now there's a hole through the middle of this, which is what they should be. I'm going to hit UL, make sure I'm in line mode here. I'm going to grab in this line, and I'm going to go in here to the bottom of this, try to get to the bottom of this, and hold down the shift key and grab this line. So now I have two lines again, and we're going to use the bridge tool. And I remember MB for bridge. And we're going to bridge, hold on, I'm going to get really close here. We're going to bridge from here, not like that. We're going to bridge from here to here and make a bridge. And so this is going to lock that in. So it becomes a shape there. Now, this shape might not be what we want. It might be too big. We could even hit the T key and make these a little bit smaller. Yeah. And we'll come back H and we'll come back out to full screen. We'll turn the subdivision surface off and pray to God. Boom. Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. I mean, that's not perfect, but that's not bad of a circumstance. I mean, maybe this could come out a little bit more. Maybe we could take, here we could do UL, have this come out further. Let me just turn the subdivision surface off for a second. I always keep turning the subdivision surface off. A shortcut key, the Q key, will turn the subdivision surface or will turn the parent on and off. So if you just want to turn the parent on and off quick and you don't want to reach over and click on it, you can just do it that way. So then we can take this, we can say hit the E key and move this out a little bit further so it's a little bit longer. We could hit the UL. Unfortunately, we made a break here, so there is no connection back and forth between here. But we could grab some points. We could use some kind of a tool here and grab some points. What we want to do is we want to look at this and see that the bushing would fall basically between there and there. We'll turn the bushing back on. And now it's falling perfectly there. We could probably raise this up on the cylinder here with the E key and say, just raise this up a little bit so it's kind of like that. Again, we could model this. Again, we could kind of design this however we want to. I feel like we have something more like a skateboard surface there. You can design this if you want to. We might want to take this and make this even smaller. Whoops, sorry. We're going to go here and make this smaller this way and make this, wrap around this way. We could try to do something to kind of work the edges here a little bit better. It's a little bit sloppy. It's a little bit awkward. It's a weird skateboard truck. I don't know if I would want to ride a skateboard truck like there, but we can do some things. We have this there and we have this bushing here. We're going to take another bushing here, hit the E key, hold down Command so we can duplicate this, make another bushing. Whoops, not that. Let's grab this bushing here. Sorry. Let's grab this bushing here. We're going to hit the E key and just say Command, drag, and push this up and have another bushing on top of this. So we have it one bushing below, one bushing on top. We'll make this one a little bit smaller. We might want to make this one editable. C key, make this editable. Take the top of this. We'll just go here to like say UL. We'll grab in this part. I'll show you a trick. We'll go to UL. And now we grabbed this part of it, which is going to make the top of it just this ring small. So if we hit T key, we'd make just this ring small. It would look like that. But we want to grab all the rest of the top of this. So we're going to hit UF, which is fill selection. We're going to hold down Shift to grab both this and the top of this, and it's going to grab all of this on top. So that's filling in the rest of whatever's there, and we're going to fill this in here and say, let's make this smaller. We're going to grab this guy and make this smaller both this way and this way, and so we're going to grab this and smaller, and so it kind of comes in like there, like so, and makes it a little smaller. Now, it made it smaller in a weird way. Honestly, it did a weird kind of smaller, and it made that, which is not necessarily, that's kind of cool. Maybe not what I want in terms of how this looks. I still don't like this edge. We might do something with this edge to fix this. I did something weird. We can talk about how to fix it really quickly. But here, let's talk about this first. Let's do one thing at a time. So we're going to fix the bushing. I'm going to turn on a control here for the scale called soft selection. In soft selection, I'm going to enable soft selection. We're going to enable this, and we're going to look at the soft selection. It grabbed this piece and some piece around it. Now there's a radius. We can make the radius bigger and it'll grab the whole thing, but we're going to make the radius super small and it's just going to grab just a little bit here, just a little bit here on the top. So it's just grabbing a little bit on top, and we could play with the strength a little bit. Now it's going to make this smaller, but also make this smaller, which in turn, when I hit the T key and I drag across, is going to make it smaller while simultaneously making the soft edge around here smaller. So it's not going to just, it will make this smaller, but depending on the radius and the strength, when I hit the T key, it's going to make all of this smaller. So it's going to pull all of this in as well. You see these other edges are getting pulled in as well. That's kind of like, hey, I want to focus on making this part smaller, but I also want to make some of the other, you get the idea. So we make this in here. Now let's go back to this because this is a mess and I don't like this at all. So let's try to fix something that we could do. Let's try to figure out what we can do here. So we have this cylinder here. This is the main part of this. We're going to turn off the subdivision surface. So we're going to have this here like there. And this looks questionable. I don't know what the hell I did here. We could try to grab these edges. I still have soft selection on, which is maybe useful in this case. Maybe not. We'll see. E, and I could pull this back out and pull this back out. So it's like there. That might be better. That might have fixed it already. Not, that didn't do a good job because it made it awkward. Push this like there. We'll see what happens when we turn subdivision surface on. That's not bad. That's not actually bad. That was actually a good job. The other thing I was thinking of doing, I feel like I don't want to undo this, but we're going to leave this alone. We'll leave this alone. The other thing I was thinking of doing, not that. The other thing I was thinking of doing was to delete all this, was to say, hey, let's say, what would happen if we just said, let's delete all this. So let's grab all of this. We're going to do rectangle selection, and I'm going to do here in the options from rectangle, not tolerant. So it's going to have to grab all of this here. We might want to turn this here. Whoops, nope. 3. Turn this so it's facing this way. And just say, let's grab all of this. So it grabs all this, not soft selection. We're going to turn off soft selection. Cool. So now grab all of this, and let's just, we might have grabbed more here. Hold on. We might go to orthographic view. It might be better to go to orthographic. So we're going to grab this and grab all this here and grab everything in the front here. And what if we grabbed all this front piece and just deleted it? Just a goodbye. And then we could say, let's just fill this in with a flat piece. And that's going to be MD, which is closed polygon hole. I always think about this, the doctor, we're going to patch up this hole and close this hole. And that might be a way to just close this out and say, hey, let's just close this out. And then we have a kind of a rounded edge like so. And that's a little bit nicer, easier way to go. We might even take this edge. I don't know which one was better. You can debate which was better. We might take this edge. We'll go back to the edge mode. We'll go back to E key. Grab this piece. This is an awkward piece. I don't necessarily love this piece, but we grab this and grab this a little bit tighter because I don't think this needs to be really far out there. It just needs to wrap around, you know, the bushing. We pulled this really far out. I don't think it needs to come out that far. Hit the T key, make it a little bit smaller this way. We're just kind of shaping this. We're doing a kind of sloppy job. This is not really nice geometry, but we're just playing with the idea. So now we have just a, whoops, sorry. We just have an idea here of just this wrapped around here, like so. And so we have it, you know, for better for worse, we could do some more to add a truck here. We got obviously have to add some parts into this. We go to the base, back to the base part here, which is this. We can take this, so we can take this bool here. We have this bool because we have the hole. We're going to go here. We're going to right-click on this. We're going to say connect objects and delete, which is going to get rid of this and turn this into one piece. Now, right now, this is not one piece because it's the cube plus the holes. We're going to go here and click on the bool and say the bool and all these objects. We're going to go right here and we're going to say just connect objects and delete. And it's going to turn into one editable object, and it's just one singular thing that just looks like this. Fine. Why do we do that? Well, we're going to do that because we're going to do this. We're going to take a couple cylinders, really small cylinders. We're going to take this one, E key. We're going to move this one here. We'll go back to here. We'll make this really small. And we're going to make this really thin like this. And we're just going to make some little holes. We're going to make some holes. Whoops, sorry. Some holes here. Just some tiny little screw holes for our bolts to bolt this in here. We don't even need to be that big. We just need to be big enough to here. And we're going to do a cylinder minus this bool. We'll call this the bottom plate or something like that. Yeah, sure, the bottom plate. And now we're going to do a bool. So we're going to do bottom plate minus cylinder. Now the trick here is is the bool only works for A minus B, so it only does one at a time. So we could either do this. So now we have a hole here. So now we have an adorable little hole there. That's great. But we want to do a bunch of holes. So we're gonna do this. Well, the easy way to do this is to say, let's just duplicate this one here. We're gonna make another cylinder here. We're gonna take both these cylinders. We're gonna duplicate them again, and you can decide where they're supposed to be in terms of the spacing, where the bolts go in terms of the trucks. I think these front two should go further in front, kind of like there. But these ones aren't booled because this is A minus B, not A minus B, C, and D. You get the idea. There's a problem there. So now we want to do is we want to take all four of these, right click and choose group objects, Alt G, and group them. And now since they're all in the group, it's the bottom plate minus the whole group there. And so now we have the whole group, and now it looks like that. We have this skateboard truck. Obviously, we're going to put a post through this. Obviously, we're going to put we're going to put another uh, cylinder here going on the z-axis. We'll make this skinnier. We'll put this up so it's right in the middle of this. We'll make this longer. So we have a post of, that's not on target. There, let's put this in the middle. And here. Right about there. And so we'll take this and make, however thick this is supposed to be. Change the radius of this. A little bit thin, not that thin, but maybe that thin. Decide how big the wheels are, and we have a skateboard truck like there. That's a little bit too long. I think that's too long. I think we may just go straight 750 there. Yeah, that's a little better. And now we'll have a skateboard truck like there. So we're starting to get, the shape roughly of the idea of the skateboard truck. Could we do more with this? Obviously. Could we play with this in a different way? Absolutely. We're gonna have some things. We're gonna put a washer on top of this. We have this other washer here. We're gonna duplicate this washer. Put another washer on top of here. Make this washer a little bit smaller. We'll put a post to the middle of this. We'll put a plate on there. We did a lot of modeling. We did a lot of modeling for today. I think we did some things. So we have this, and now obviously we didn't measure the wheels properly. So now the wheels are much too big and they're facing the wrong direction. So now we have the wheels are this way. Actually, the wheels aren't bad. Actually, I feel the wheels are pretty good. So we'll rotate the wheels we'll rotate the wheels, have the wheels turn this way. 90 degrees. Cool. Awesome. Have the wheels fall here. Obviously, now we can clearly see that these posts are way too big. So let's go back to this cylinder, make this much smaller. Right? They should only be like that big right there. Have the wheels here. I don't think the wheels are in the right place. No, the wheels are totally missing. And, whoops, sorry. The wheels need to be right here. We could obviously make the cylinder a little bit bigger, so it fits a little bit. Cool. We'll take this wheel, we'll duplicate this wheel. Command drag and duplicate it, make another wheel. Awesome, now we have two wheels. So we're starting with a skateboard truck, then we can add the deck back in here. Obviously, the deck is much too small. It's facing the wrong way. Everything's backwards about the deck. It's totally wrong. Let's go back to the deck. We'll say, let's rotate the deck. It should go like this, 180 degrees this way. Whoops, 125. 100 and what would it be 65? 25, no, 55. Yeah, I think that's right. E key, we're gonna rotate key, we're gonna rotate this 90 degrees. 90 degrees. I'm holding down shift to go in increments of fives. Obviously, this needs to be much bigger, much longer, and then say E key, hit H. Put this so that the deck is here and the skateboard truck is there. Maybe the skateboard doesn't need to be that big, but you get the idea. Now, argumentatively, we have all this. We could put this all into a group. Alt G, rotate this whole thing, flip it over. Whoops. Rotate this thing 180 degrees. Run out of space here. 140 plus 40 is a skateboard. Again, we can move these other pieces in here, move the deck up a little bit. So obviously it falls there. And obviously we have something like that. Again, it's a perfect skateboard. No. Can we take all of this, which is all the part of all of this is a group as well. This is all the truck. So we'll label this as the truck here. This is a long lesson. Again, I don't expect you to go through all this, and I could do a better job than this. Maybe we'll take all of this. We'll say command drag and move another truck here. And then we'll rotate the truck so it faces the other way. Obviously, you don't want to put the trucks on the same face the same way. 180 degrees like there. Now we have these trucks. I feel like this is a little bit small, a little bit awkward. The wheelbase is too small. This truck should be a little bit bigger, or at least the skateboard should be a little bit smaller, I think. Anyway, some things we can do here. We can say take the deck, make it a little bit thinner. I feel like it's like a thicker board. We'd have to tilt up the angle a little bit more, make it a little bit smaller. That feels better. It feels better. At least the wheelbase is covering at least most of the thing. We can make the wheels a little bit, we can make the trucks a little bit wider. Take this truck. Take this truck. Take both these trucks here. Maybe make them a little bit wider. Obviously, this one needs to come in because it's hitting the wheel now. I don't know. I'm going to be doing this all day now here. And that's actually okay. That's actually hitting in a good place. I feel like this one's a little bit misaligned. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's the... No, it's right in the middle. Yeah. So anyway, we're starting to make a skateboard. What happened to my wheel? Did I delete my wheel? That's weird. Truck number 1 didn't have the secondary wheel. That was weird. Interesting. This truck has a wheel and has a... Where did this wheel go? Oh, this wheel was not in part of that. So this was not in the truck. Got it. So we'd have to do that and duplicate that again, and make another truck. Anyway, I think I've played for long enough. I think I did a whole bunch of cool things. I think you should be really excited. Again, we're just going to do this. I think we're going to do a little bit more. I think we're going to play with a little bit more of the ideas of modeling just to kind of explore some things that we do right and do wrong. That's totally separated from there. That's not even making contact. So the whole truck needs to come up and hit a little bit better. Probably on the other side as well. So there's some space there. Look at all that space right there. Man, that's tough. Anyway, we'll make, for Cinema 4D, we'll just kind of explore. I think it may be fun to explore by just kind of experimenting and finding things. Maybe we'll take this in a future lesson and texture this, make this appropriate, and make this kind of cool looking. But, we're starting to make a skateboard. We made a skateboard. It looks kind of like there. Oops. We didn't make it visible. So that looks awkward. And so now we started to make skateboard. Can we make this better? Can we put some materials on this? Can we put some textures on this? Sure we can. But for now, we did some stuff. I think that's going to be some fun. All right. Next time, we'll do some more cool stuff. Maybe. Well, maybe we'll make something else, maybe make a bicycle or some other kind of extreme sports tool that you can ride.